What you saw in the first few seconds is real, but it's not native. Linux and other operating systems are running virtually on my iPad. This does not replace iPad OS. These are virtual machines with real limitations. In this video, I'll show you how I set this up, what works properly, what breaks, and whether it's worth your time. Before we continue, a quick disclaimer. To run virtual machines on an iPad or iPhone, we're using UTM SE Retro PC Emulator. It's officially available on the App Store. UTM SE runs inside Apple's sandbox. No jailbreak, no system modification, no security bypass. First, open App Store in your iPad. Search UTM SE Retro PC Emulator on the App Store and install it. Open the app. You now have two ways to create a virtual machine. First, pre-built machines from the gallery. Second, fully custom machines using an ISO. We'll go through both. Tap the plus icon, tap Open the UTM gallery. Here, you'll see community-built virtual machines. These are not official installers. They are provided by the community for testing and convenience. Use them at your discretion. Choose the machine you want. Download the zip file. Extract it. Tap the UTM SE file to import it. It will appear inside UTM. You can start it immediately. If performance is slow, adjust RAM and CPU cores in Settings. Then save and start the machine again. As you can see, Arch Linux is running successfully using the pre-built machine option. Now, let's move on to the manual configuration method. For this example, I'm using Linux Lite. I downloaded it from the official website. Open UTM SE. Tap the plus icon. Select New Machine. Select Linux or your target operating system. Tap Expert Mode. Choose the architecture that matches your ISO x64 ARM for ARM images. Now we need to allocate RAM for the virtual machine. This controls how much memory the guest operating system can use. My iPad has 8 GB of RAM. I'm assigning 2 GB to the virtual machine. A good guideline is to allocate around 25 to 30% of your total memory. If you allocate too little, the OS will feel slow and unstable. If you allocate too much, your iPad may struggle or force the app to close in the background. So, find a balance that works for your device. Next, CPU cores. This decides how much processing power the virtual machine gets. My iPad uses an M-series chip, so I'm assigning 2 cores. If you have an older A-series iPad, you can still use 1 or 2 cores, but don't go higher. Giving a virtual machine too many cores doesn't make it faster. It just takes resources away from the iPad OS side and can reduce stability. So start with 2 cores. If performance is bad, adjust later and test again. Now we attach the ISO file. This is the installer image, just like using a DVD or USB on a real computer. Tap Browse. Select your ISO from the Files app. When the ISO is attached, continue to the next step. Now we assign storage. This is like creating a virtual hard drive. Most modern operating systems need at least 15 GB to install properly. This includes the base operating system, updates, and some breathing room for applications. I'm choosing 10 GB because I'm installing Linux Lite, which is small and lightweight. You should adjust this depending on what you plan to install. If you're installing a full desktop Linux distro, go higher. If you're using something like Arch Alpine or a minimal distro, you can go lower. Once you set the size, confirm the disk configuration. There is an option to enable a shared directory. This lets the virtual machine access a folder from your iPad for file transfers. If you need to move files in and out of the VM frequently, enable this. If you only want to test or explore the OS, skip it for now. You can always add a shared directory later in settings. I'm skipping it in this demonstration. We now review the summary screen. Check the RAM, CPU, architecture, ISO, and disk space one more time. If anything looks wrong, go back and correct it before continuing. If everything matches your plan, save the configuration. This completes the setup phase. Everything is ready, so now we can start the virtual machine. Tap Start to launch the installer. At this point, the operating system will boot from the ISO file. This is the same installer you would see if you were installing the OS on a real computer. Go through the setup process step by step. Create partitions if required. Choose your language, region, and user account. And wait for the installation to finish. When the operating system asks to restart, shut it down instead of rebooting. Go back into the UTM settings and remove the ISO from the virtual CD drive. This ensures the system will boot directly from the virtual hard drive, not from the installer again. Now start the machine one more time. If everything worked correctly, it should boot straight into the installed desktop environment. At this stage, your virtual machine is complete and ready to use. Virtual machines on an iPad are possible, but they are not a laptop replacement. They are useful for learning, experimenting, and running lightweight tools. Performance depends on your iPad's hardware, the OS architecture, and how much memory you allocate. Linux distributions generally run the best. Windows is functional, but not ideal for heavy work. macOS works as a demonstration, not as a daily driver. If your goal is education or curiosity, this setup is worth trying. If your goal is serious development or productivity, a real laptop is a better investment. So that's how you can run operating systems virtually on an iPad using UTM SE. It works, but it does come with practical limitations you have to accept. If this video helped you and you want more like it, consider subscribing. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.